Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Better Business Roundtable. And today we're doing something a bit different. We have our guest, well, our, should I say, our home guest, our family guest. I don't know how we say it, but anyway, it is just so good to have Allison share with us this morning. And actually, we're in April, and I know for some businesses, based on the financial year, some businesses, the financial year can be as with the government tax year. For many businesses, they prefer to follow that, which is from April, start from April. And I know during that time, it's a fresh start for a lot of businesses and trying to think of what we're going to do differently with our finances, how we're going to get up to a good start. And I know for sure that for me, every time it's that time, I'm thinking, what can I do differently? And although my taxi is not exactly, I put my 1 month after, but here in the UK, we can put our taxi however we want to. That's a good thing about it. Yes, but for me, I'm always wondering at the beginning of my um of my financial year, how can I do things differently? And so I thought, who else can I ask but Allison? I've known Allison for a number of years now, and she is a virtual assistant, but she's also a bookkeeper. And Alison, I can tell you, if you want excellence, this is the person to go to. I think that should be her other name, Excellence. Because I've had the privilege of working with Alison and she has brought so much value to my business. So much value. Yeah, words cannot explain. I cannot put any amount on what she's brought, right? And she has a wealth of wisdom, wisdom, wisdom beyond our years combined. And she's someone I really, really appreciate. And Alison, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for taking time out to really guide us through and speak to us about how we can start on a good note with our new financial year. So, without further ado, Alison, stage is yours.
Good morning, everybody, once again. Thank you, Janice, for that glowing um, introduction. Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be here to give some of my expertise, if as it were, to share it with you all. All right. Yeah, finance is a big part of our business. It's in the back end, but it's really at the forefront, really, when you look at it. I have a presentation, so I'll share my screen now. Just let me know that you can see it. Do you see that?
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
Allison.
Okay, good. All right. So it's preparing for the new financial year. Well, when we're about to begin a new financial year, we must start off on a good foot because based on how we start, it will kind of determine how we will finish, right? So before you begin to put your books up for the new year, we have to close the year before, making sure that all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. What I mean by that is just now. Right. What I mean by that is you have to make sure that if you have, say, unfinished business like penalties, tax penalties, or you have entries that you have not put in your books, based on that last year, you can't go forward if it's not corrected. So that's the first thing. You correct whatever you find in the previous year, you correct that before you open the books for the next financial year, because it determines what your cash flow is going to be, your position in tax, because if you're owing tax from the previous year, it's not settled, you're bringing that forward into the new year, that could cause some problems, and it interferes really with your growth, you know, and your numbers wouldn't be right, right? It should be proper data coming forward. That's how you start with. You start by closing the last year on a good foot. All checks and balances done. So the balances, excuse me, your balances you're bringing forward, if you have debtors per se, you know, you're sure that the figures that you're bringing forward, that's the exact figure. There's no error, there's no mistake, because as I have here, if you have to approach the bank for any reason, they look for your records and it must be clean. You must not have red flags, right? So bringing forward those figures from the prior year is very important, that it should be correct data, not incorrect records, because you start wrong, you'll finish wrong, right? And I have here preparation turns chaos into control. If you prepare properly, right, you'll be able to control matters going forward in the months going forward into your new year. So that's the first thing. Make sure your end of the prior year is solid, is correct, right? What is non-negotiable, as I have here, is accurate bookkeeping. You must plug in the right figures, because it would affect everything. If you put in your wrong figures, you would be able to, your taxes would not be calculated properly. If you go for loan applications, you want to see your records, it will be incorrect, because when they're asking for proof, of course, they will ask for proof. You can't just say, you know, I have this, that, and the next. They will ask for proof. If you have to do any valuations or whatever, everything has to be in an order, a proper order, right? And one good practice is to have your books in order, is to record your transactions. How I should put it? Current. Have your current transaction recorded as soon as possible. I have it here as 7 days in a week. You record the transaction of the week before. Some people do it daily, you know, as it comes, but sometimes it's not feasible to do that, especially if you don't have a lot of staff. If you're a single trader, a sole trader, you may not be able to do it as the transaction occur. But try not to make a week pass before you make it your records up to date for the prior week. Now I'm saying that because I had an accountant as a boss before, and he's right. You cannot leave things to memory. You will forget. You can't leave things to memory. Say, well, okay, you put that aside. You could lose the document, you know, depending on how efficient you are in your filing, and you could lose your document and that record goes unchecked, you know. You could forget something. You could just have it in a, you could forget. You just could forget, because that's how we built. So you can't leave your transactions for weeks and weeks and then say you're going and update your books after 7 months. After some people, they wait until tax time before they get the books in order. And that would lead to a lot of errors. And of course, that could make you, you know, get into trouble with the law, right? So before you go into your new year, reconcile all your accounts, whether it's debtors, people who owe you, people who you owe, your spending. Make sure it's the right figure that you're carrying forward. You don't have to start with your spending on a fresh slate, but I mean, make sure that what you're ending with, that's it, because you have brought forward figures from the last, some figures from the last year comes forward into the new year. If it's wrong in the end of the year, as I said before, it's gonna carry over wrong in the new year, right? This is a big one for small business owners, commingling of funds. Now, you might tell yourself that, you know, if I need lunch or something, you know, I could just grab from the till a little $20 or $40 and, you know, go and get me. It's my business after all. It's my business. But that is the beginning of some trouble. You don't mix your business funds with your personal funds. That is one thing you don't carry over into the new year. If you used to do it in the old year, that's one thing you don't carry over. Separate your personal expenses from your business funds. Number one, it's against the law. And if you have to be audited for some reason, it will present red flags. You just don't do it. It would never balance your books, you know. And you have to know what are the true figures in your business in order to calculate profitability. Else you could be lying to your own self. So the answer to that is to pay yourself, a salary. Pay yourself a salary or open an account saying owner's drawings. That has nothing to do with your sales or anything. It's just a record for you to know, okay, I took $20 from the till. I have to put that back. You have a separate little account saying owner's drawings, or better yet, pay yourself a salary and use from that salary to do your personal business. That will make clean books. So commingling of funds is a total no-no. We don't do that, right? Another thing, if it is that you would notice from the year prior, you know, there were some errors that occurred, you try not to bring that forward. You try to correct that, because you're always looking to see how much better you could do your books or run your business. Better ideas, you know, how to run this business, as opposed to what we did last year. You want to do things better. You want to have different ideas because you want to make more profit. You want to be more accountable. You want to be more efficient. So one part of that efficiency is making sure that the expenses are classified properly, right? For instance, you buy, say, pens. That's an expense. So you put it probably in stationery. But the next time you buy pens, you put it in general expenses. That's wrong. You know, it is a general expense, right? But you must classify, in other words, put eggs with eggs and, you know, milk with milk. You must have a proper classification of the expenses going forward for everything to look clean, everything to look above board, you know, everything to look proper in your books. When you ask for when anybody should ask for a receipt or a bill for whatever expense that is on your books, you will have the bill to show that is truly, this is the expense for this, and that's why it's in that account. You know, duplication of entries is another error that we would make. Easy. You know, you probably had an entry to do. You have the document to make the entry. You did it, but you didn't file the document away, you know, and you go and you enter it again. So that will be a false declaration of their expenses or whatever the entry is. It could be anything. You know, you record it twice, you know, or you just forget to record it. That in itself is an error as well. So you guard against that. And to you know, give yourself some order. You could create a checklist and have monthly reviews of, you know, did I do this? Did I do that? You have a checklist to guide yourself through, you know, for every month, right? Making sure that you have every base covered. And, you know, you check back your entries, you know, you look for things that it could be, you know, how come this figure is so much? You could have forgotten that you bought something, you know, out of the ordinary. Not every day you're going to buy a printer. Not every day you're going to buy a computer. So those are big expenses. So you could check back and say, oh, that's why it's so high. All your records are clean. You'll be able to give answers to anybody who would ask. Taxman, really, right? Who would ask, you know, how come this varies as opposed to last month or last year around this time, and what did this happen there? Your books really tell a story of what's going on in your business. It does, right? If you have proper records, it does give you a picture, a vivid picture of how your business is going, right? Proper bookkeeping records is what what gives the proper answers, right? Correct answers. Now, some of us have spreadsheets. We understand we have to creep before we walk. We can't now begin a business and we have all the fancy software and We have to creep before we walk. But there comes a time when spreadsheets have to be done away with, and you invest in a good a software that would, align with your business needs, right? Because not all software could cater for what you do per se, you know. If you have stock and that kind of stuff, if you sell items, it would be different from if you're a general service provider. Your accounting will be different. You have to add, you have to account for the stock you have, opening stock, closing stock, and the sales. How you'll have to have a software that would give you what you want. So you have to shop around. I'm not a software expert, but some of the software that I know of, they're QuickBooks, Zoho, Zero, and Wave. That's just some. But you could go and find, search out and find what works for your business. But because spreadsheets, it could be, a source of errors that you don't find right away. It could go unnoticed. It could produce errors, manual errors that you don't see sometimes way down the road. Then you see the error and you have to go back and you have to fix so many things before. It's not automatic, it's manual. So that's a no-no. That's a hindrance. There's no audit trail. For instance, if you have a team and more than one person updates the spreadsheets, nobody could say who changed what and when they did it, right? The software could give you that information depending on which software you're using, right? So you have a kind of control, right, as to who is interfering with. I mean, your books is something really sacred, right? People can't just be going in and doing what they want. There's evil out there, so anybody could do anything, even fraud. We'll talk about that a little bit lower down. Another thing with spreadsheets, it's a security risk. If you lose your laptop or you have nothing, you have no way you could get back the information and somebody else could see it. Exposed data, right? If you could crack into your system, you have exposed data, all your business is on a spreadsheet. Whereas on the cloud, you have to have passwords, you have to have this, that, and the next that would control who would see your information, your prized information, because it's all about your business. Everything about your business is on that spreadsheet, more or less. Excuse me. Right? And the benefits of using software, I'm just encouraging you, as your business grows, try to invest in a good software, accounting software, right? Because what you plug in there, you could make mistakes, because if you plug garbage in, you'll get garbage out. But you'll get real-time reporting. At any time, you could pull reports and see how your business is going. You could get bank reconciliation. I know how to do manual bank reconciliation, but it's so much easier with a software. You plug in the figures, you raise your bank account, and it sorts it for you. And according to your staff and what they're responsible for, with the software, you're able to give access to who needs to see what, and and block off those who are not supposed to see this particular part of this particular module of your business. It's just control, because not everybody is going to know. The person who's supposed to know everything about your business is you, right? But there are certain areas, if you have staff, some is not, you're supposed to restrict some, right? So allow your software to work for you in that regard. Yes, I understand, as I said before, not everybody is able at the onset to have accounting software, but it's something that we should work towards, because, it's beneficial to your business. Now, what I have here is to protect against internal fraud. Now, we look at fraud like cyber fraud, things from on the outside. We look at that more than we look at internal fraud, because we trust the people that we work with, right? But the reality is, sometimes the threat is within your business. inside your business. I mean, I had to work when I was out in corporate. I was tasked with I noticed something was wrong, and I was tasked with the job to find where the error is. Somebody was pilfering, you know, taking from cash that would come in and replacing the cash when another set of cash for that same kind of, when another bunch of cash came in, they will replace that cash that they took, and a sort of a whole mess, right? And I had to sort that out. But you have to know exactly where to look, how to look. For every one action, for every one transaction, there is another transaction. If there's a sale, okay, your sales go up, but your cash in your bank or your cash in hand is supposed to go up as well, right? If it is you have an expense, you have an item that you bought, it means that your assets will increase, but your cash will decrease. It's just double entry recording. I mean, it's easy to look. Well, if you're skilled in that area, it will be easy for you to find where the error is because you know exactly how to look. But I mean, people could scam you, the business owner, within the own business because you trust them. You could have, as I have here, depending on the size of your business, you could have ghost employees if you're not paying attention to what's going on financially in your own business and trust probably the accountant. Just trust the accountant. No, you have to ask the accountant or the bookkeeper questions concerning your own business, right? Okay, how many employees you have on the payroll, and you must know who you hired, and you must know if the figures adding up, because you know how much you're paying them. You're supposed to pay them, right? You have people who will tamper with checks. You have to have a system where if you're paying, issuing checks, well, now we're online and whatnot and whatnot, but still you have to have a checks and balances where that is concerned as well. The checks are numbered. You have to have a record of your checks, each one. That's where I got schooled in actual manual recording. Each check must be recorded and they must be sequenced. So if one is missing, you have to see where that canceled check is. If it's in the checkbook, or what's happening with that number that's missing. Could be that the check was not presented to the bank as well, but you must have a record of where you wrote that check and who you wrote it to. You see, some people could steal from the till as well, saying that they had a business meeting and this money was for lunch or whatever, tea or whatever it is. But it may not necessarily be like that. But my point is that you as a business owner must know what goes on with your business. You must have segregation of duties. The person who is billing should not be the person receiving the cash or the payment. The person who is doing the billing should not be the person seeing about receivables. It should not be. I mean, yes, as small business owners, you could have the same person because of the fact, I mean, you're a small business, right? But you, the business owner, must have always have the checks and balances to make sure that if it is, this is spent, this is the bill for it, this is what left the exact figure is supposed to be what left the account or your cash till or whatever, right? If this is sold, this is the money coming in, here it is, must have a record. You must have a system in place where you will take your daily sales in, you have a check on what was sold and what is going to the bank. Again, you're not supposed to be taking from the till to buy new roti or lunch or anything like that to use your own money, right? But if you're selling $10, you're supposed to see where you received $10. And that's the bottom line. You as a business owner must have a look at your business periodically and more often than not. And you could have surprise audits as well. Just say, let me see your book, let me see the books, let me see whatever it is, and you go through it yourself. And it's just common sense. If it is to sell something, you will have monies. If you're not seeing the monies, ask a question, right? If the figure's not adding up, ask a question. Why is this so? Ask a question, right? But that is something important. Internal fraud, we don't look for it, but it's there sometimes. And these are some of the things that could cause red flags. When you have unexplained drops in sales, your profits unexplained, your bank balance don't match what's in your books. Yes, you have to reconcile. It hardly likely it's always matching, but you must know when there's some kind of error. That's why you have to do your reconciliations monthly, periodically. If you have unreconciled, whoever you're entrusting to do your reconciliations, if it is that you're seeing that the person not reconciling for over a month, why? You must reconcile periodically to catch errors, because errors will happen. As humans we're dealing with, and we make mistakes. And simple mistakes, it's not as though it's fraud, but simple mistakes could occur, right? So reconciliations are important, and you do it periodically, basically once a month. If your expense category showing large figures unexplained, like you can't remember issuing an order to buy this or buy that, and yet still you're seeing a big chunk of your money coming out. It could be that it could be an error in recording the transaction, or some kind of underhand thing is probably happening, right? And if you're seeing uncategorized income month on month, something is wrong. If it's uncategorized, if you cannot account for it, if you don't understand how this money coming in or going out, right? It's something to ask a question about, right? How to fix it? As I say, you run a profit and loss against your budget monthly. That's part of reconciliation, I would think, right? You compare numbers. Last year in March, what happened? This year, sometimes you may have software subscriptions due in a particular month more than another month. That could be an answer. Okay, that's an answer. That's why my expenses are more this month, because I had a software subscription to pay for, right? You must see, when you compare, why this figure is so big this month and not last time at the same period. Keep track to update. I can't stress this enough. To record your expenses, record your transactions regularly and keep track of it, right? You must know what's going on in your business. Don't leave it up to the accountant. People might say they have an accountant and they're responsible for that, and just leave it alone. This time the accountant is a big fraud and you don't know, right? So keep track, always keep track. As your business grows, you keep track, and you will get accustomed to doing it, and you will learn some things as well. You may not be a bookkeeper, an accountant or whatnot, but you will learn stuff. As you familiarize yourself with your books, you will get to know stuff. You will educate yourself, and that you will be better come the next year, the next financial year. You'll be better for it in the finances. Track your spending, always. Cash flow problems, as I have here, don't always come because of low sales. It don't arise only because you have low sales. It's according to your spending. Because, okay, if you're earning $10, you can't spend $20. You have to control your spending in order to control your cash flow. You have to look to see what's coming into the business. You could have had that problem last year. You don't want that to come into this financial period at all, right? Look at what you're selling. Keep track on your sales. Keep track on what are your expenses. Things like electricity and whatnot. You could control to a point, but I mean, that's a mandatory. But you could control how many pencils you buy this month. How many, little things that could add up, As I have here, subscription creep is one of them. You see some new thing come out, some video tool or something, and they have it as a discounted price now. Okay, it's probably affordable now, but what happens when the next subscription comes around? Are you able to afford to keep that subscription going? So look at that. Look at your spending. Look at every dollar. It may sound like if it's cheap, but it's not that. You have to be smart, and look at your spending in order to control your cash flow, right? Remember to categorize every expense properly and set spending limits at the beginning of your year. Say, well, okay, you have a budget, you want to do this, that, and the next. You may want to educate yourself in some area. Look to see how your money is flowing, and you would know if you're able to afford this upgrade in your skills this year. Look beyond to see. Keep on top of what's coming in, and keep on top of what's going out. And review each month. Look at your expenses and check and see, what are the top 10 expensive items that you bought that month. See if you could have done without it. See how you're going forward in the next month, if you should be spending anything at all. Look at your schedule of things that you must pay for, and make sure that you have your funds to go forward buying or subscribing to it. You must control your spending. So as I come to a landing, a checklist I put together regarding, how you're going forward in this new year. Learn to reconcile your bank and credit card accounts monthly. Separate again your personal and your financial transactions. No commingling. Don't bring that from last year into this year. Organize your taxes. Make sure your taxes are in order. Each month you could put aside a little bit for tax, so you don't have to look for this big amount at the end of the year, at the end of the period, or whenever it's tax period. Like Janice said, you could organize the tax anyhow, but you could still plan for it. You could organize your tax for any month, but you could still plan for it and say, okay, I'm taking out a chunk this month, and another chunk this now. You could have a steady deduction and put it aside for taxes for when it becomes due, right? Again, look at your user access if you have cloud software already. Look to see if somebody would have left the organization, but you still have them accessing your files. Look at that, and remove them. Practice segregation of duties. Always remember, the person doing the billing shouldn't be the person receiving. If that is the case, because you're a very small employer, a very small business, then you have to make a check on your accounting matters, on your accounts, very regularly, right? Very, very regularly, right? To make sure that everything is above board. And if the person who is doing your books see that you're checking and random checking, right? They will think twice before going to interfere with your funds, right? So you could set a calendar as well as to when, because you may not remember to do that. Set a calendar to remind yourself, okay, I have to review in this week. I have to review in this month, and so on. Set a calendar for the year to know when your monthly review coming. You would know that. Nobody else would know that. And you review what's going on with your business. That will help a great deal, right? Without proper preparation, you could end up paying higher taxes because of unrecorded deductions. You could find yourself at a risk of fraud because you don't have controls in place. You're not looking at who's doing what in your business. It could end up having you making poor decisions because of incorrect data. You may have overstated data or understated data. In any event, you wouldn't be able to make sound, proper decisions, financial decisions concerning your business if your data is wrong, right? And then using a spreadsheet, you could have wasted hours because it takes time doing it manually, more time than if you were plugging it in to a software. And you could find an error where you have to go back checking. That's wasting a lot of time, right? So without proper preparation, these things could be a reality for you, right? With proper preparation, though, you will enjoy a peace of mind, you will not have anxiety. With proper preparation, you will have real-time accurate reporting, and you can report on any day. You don't have to wait on the end of the month, especially when you prepare properly and you plug in your figures weekly. You could make decisions. You could see everything about your business with a software and whatnot, real time. And you'll have the systems in place that would scale to complement the growth of your business. Because your business could be growing and you're not ready. I think Janice made she experienced something like that years gone by, where your business is taking off, but you're not ready because your systems are not in place. You're still on the spreadsheet. You don't have accounting software to back this growth in your business, right? So I thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I have some bookkeeping tips that I could make available to you if you sign up with this link. I could put it in the chat, right? And you'll get weekly bookkeeping tips that would help to cause you to streamline, what you do on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis. And it will make you more comfortable because not everybody is comfortable doing bookkeeping. Some people call it boring, they have better things to do. They have their business to run, they have sales to run after, and this thing takes up so much of my time and whatnot. They have some tips that is free. Just sign up for it and you'll be able to get it in your mailbox each week. Thank you so much for listening. Janice, I hope I did justice.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much, Allison. Thank you for this.
So
So
welcome.
many valuable tips. So many. Yes, where do I start? Yes, but before, there were so many things, Allison, that you
Excuse
you
me.
pointed out that for me, some of them I've had to learn the hard way. Some of them I've learned through banking, and some of them just important things that we need to know. And what one of the things that you said that is so important, well, you said a number of things I have written down there. I have a full page. But one of the things that you said that's so important right now is regarding the software, having the right software for your business. And for those of us in the UK right now, with 2026, as of 2026, the filing has to be done differently with HMRC, and it has to be for a software. It has to be they have some recommended softwares as well. So right now it cannot be done the old-fashioned way anymore. Everything has to be through the softwares, and it has to be you can have it linked to your business bank account, and it has to be done that way now. Most of them are just one tip. Most of them are have a cost, but there's one that is free, absolutely free. If you want to get that one, if in case you're interested in getting one, so that you can get all your softwares, get your software, get everything up to date. There's one, NatWest has this metal bank that is linked to NatWest. They have a free software for small businesses that you can use, and it will help you with all your taxes. It will help you with your accounting and everything. Get those things prepared for when it is tax time.
Is
So I
that
just thought
free agent, Janice?
if it's free,
Is it free agent?
It's metal bank.
Oh, metal.
It's a link to it's through NatWest.
Yeah, I've got free agent. I thought I'd got that through NatWest, but
Ah,
maybe not.
okay. So maybe that's if it's through NatWest, well, maybe that's the same, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, maybe,
Yes.
yeah.
So yes, so that is a free software that can help you. But yeah, thank you so much, Alison. There's so many things that you said, but I will leave the floor open for questions and any other comments, any thoughts. Yes, Dr. River.
Thank you so much, Allison. That was very, very beneficial.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
and as I had stated in the chat, I think it was last week, I already signed up for your tips.
Okay. Have you gotten any?
No, actually,
Supposed to have gotten one. Yes,
I got a
Tuesday.
thank you for signing up. That's what I received so far.
If it was last week, then on Tuesday you should have gotten your first one. I'll check in the back end on my system and see. And I'll get in
And then I'll
contact with you.
also check in my spam as well because it might have went
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
spam.
Yeah. So check there.
Okay, thank
And you
you.
can let me know if you got it.
Okay.
Thank you for signing up.
And Alison has some really good tips on there. And I remember she shared something with regards to fraud, which she shared here. And that one is so good. And the thing is, because I was in banking, I understood those things. I was taught those things because we had to look out for these things. But you don't find that your accountant will tell you these things, will teach you these things, or let you know what to look out for. You hardly find accountants telling you these things. And to see that Alison put it out there, I was like, wow. That is just so good, Alison. Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, because most business owners, they leave it up to their accountant because they're not in the numbers, they're into sales, they're into driving the business. So they leave the accountant to do whatever. And the accountant could be taking out their eyes, plucking out their
Hmm.
eyes right there, and they don't know, or even an employee, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, when you trust people, you probably worked with them for a long time and they trust their work and whatnot, and you don't really double check, and it's wrong. You should be double checking.
Hmm. I remember when I was at university and I was doing accounting. Part of my course was part accounting, but I did accounting since high school, so it's something that I've been doing for. And I remember when I was at university, one of the things that our lecturer was saying that even if you're not an accountant, as a business owner, you need to understand your accounts, the basics, so that what he said is you need to be street smart in business. And when they talk about being street smart in business, knowing how to read your books, because your accountant can be robbing you and you don't know, right? So that was one of the things that we were taught. And I remember when I started banking, one of the things that we were told, I remember my early days of banking was do not trust anybody, not even yourself. That's what I was told. It's one of the things when I started banking. You do not, when it comes to this thing, do not trust anybody, not even yourself. And I remember one manager told me, you can only trust God. But yes, but when it comes to these things with fraud, and you know, yeah, that's how that was one of the early lessons that I was taught in banking. Yes, yes, Tina.
Thank you very much, Janice. Thank you very much, Alison. That was quite informative, and
You're
it
welcome, Tina.
just reminded me, refreshed my memory with at one point when I had a business with 73 staff members. Janice will remember this, and I used to sit there and check. Not like I didn't trust my accountant, but I would check because it was quite big numbers, and having 73 staff members, you'd want to check even the pay slips is everything all right? Because sometimes there might be something that's deducted that was not supposed to. And I used to give myself a week before they get paid. I will give myself time just to oversee and just have a look and just double check and it's just having that system of checks and balances with the accountant most of the times did things all right, but sometimes there may have been discrepancies, and for me, I didn't want someone to get their pay slip that had issues and then you have to wait until it's corrected and all that. So I used to find that quite interesting to do, because I'm not a numbers person, never liked numbers. But I used to find that very assuring because I know exactly how much has gone out, how much has come in, and obviously at a lower scale than what the accountant will do and crunch all the other numbers. But it gave me a lot of assurance, and thank you for refreshing my memory, my mind back. Now I run at low, it's a lower scale, not as it's that big scale, but I've taken that from there where I keep checking and making sure things are just reconciled. But yeah, it's reminded me because I just needed to hear this right now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you. Alison, one of the things, as Tina said about reconciling, one of the things, when you started and you were saying about closing the year, closing the year on a good foot, that one really stood out for me because for me, I just know, okay, do my accounting, do my end of year accounting and stuff like that. But kind of thinking of it of purposefully closing. Most times we think about starting fresh, but actually purposefully closing the year properly, that definitely stood out for me.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for sure. Because however you close, that's how you're going to begin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Joe's hand is up.
Yes, Joe.
Oh, Alison, thank you so much. This just couldn't be more appropriate for me at the moment, starting a new business. So, yes, I think I still have the spreadsheet. So that was a really good prompt. So thank you. I will sort that out. But yeah, really great tips there. So I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
But also a tip for everybody about the accountant. So, as most people know, I've just been made redundant, and my redundancy came through on the 31st of March. It was incorrect. And when I contacted the company, they blamed the accountants and said, well, the accountants made the mistake. Well, that's not the problem. They should have, exactly as you were saying, Tina, should have checked it and made sure that it was accurate before it was released. So, yeah, it does happen. So, but yeah, thank you very much. And I will be signing up. Thank you, Alison.
Okay, welcome.
That's a good one, Joe, because you find some just saying, "Oh, the accountant did that. The accountant, they look to blame the accountant." But no, it's your responsibility as the business owner, because if there's anything, HMRC isn't going for the accountant, they're coming for you, right? When it comes to tax problems, they're coming for you. It's not the accountant they will go after, they come for you first.
So true.
And anybody else, any other thoughts, anything? Any questions for Allison? And Allison said something that is very important, that I've fallen into that trap already. And I know what it's like. When she said with regards to reconciling with your transactions, having them done, having your transactions done as you go ahead, as you go along, your current which one was it? Anyway, but ensuring that they're on track. Don't wait for when
Doing
it's
weekly rather
yes,
than you're waiting
yes,
months
yes.
or up to tax time to
Mm-hmm.
scramble. Yes, that's so important. You'll forget stuff, or you might lose documents. You might lose documents. You mightn't put them away properly and you don't record it and it's wrong, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Yeah. Yeah, it's so important. Bookkeeping is so important, eh? As I said before, it really tells a story of what your business is, what it's doing, how it's performing, that kind of stuff. But your records have to be right. Yes,
Okay.
Drew?
Oh, that just made me think about keeping receipts. So obviously I'm keeping receipts and just putting them together and then putting them in entering it into my spreadsheet. But is it correct then what I should be doing is scanning those receipts and uploading them, and then I can then shred that?
Yes, you could, but it's good to have physical records too. Not everything should be shredded, but everything should be scanned and kept, Yeah, but if you have to do any legal thing, if any customer wants to take it to court or whatnot, I think the court would want to see the document, depending on what it is, I mean, as I say, if it's a pencil or whatnot, you could shred that, but but scan it so you have it in good file. Scan it and upload it on wherever the software you're using. Upload it there, But if you don't have a software, an accounting software, you have to keep all your receipts, everything, and you file it away properly.
Thank you,
That's one thing
Allison.
I didn't talk about, but that's another story. That's more on the admin side. But you're supposed to really file all receipts, number them, give them some kind of identity for you to easily retrieve it. Put a little note at the top of on one corner of it, give it an identity so that you could retrieve it when you need it. But I wouldn't suggest shredding anything after a couple of years, until after a few years. I think 7 years, I think it is. But you should keep all your documents and scan them for easy retrieval, for easy, you go looking through your accounts online, you see your document filed with the entry, right? But you should have a file too to keep all them receipts.
Wonderful. Thank you, Allison.
You're welcome.
That's so good, Allison. Yes, Tina?
No, I was just going to concur with what Alison said that, well, in the UK, by law, you have to keep all your records for 7 years. You can't destroy them. If you do destroy them and they are needed, you are liable for court penalty or things like that. I think it's 7 years. I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah.
7 years. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, don't throw away your records.
Mm-hmm.
Anything could happen, and they may want to see, courts, courts, they want to see proof, and I mean, you can't refute evidence.
Exactly.
You can't.
And I was just going to say, I remember one of our, well, not business accountant, a personal accountant was looking after some of our accounts. So he would keep things for him, 10 years. All the files will be there with him. Then after 10 years, he gives us and he says, it's up to you. You can shred it if you want now, but you wouldn't shred them still. You would bring them to us. He'll say, these are done. They've been, they probably won't be needed now legally. He'll bring them to us. And I remember we had boxes and boxes, like after 10 years, he wouldn't shred them. So even though he knew they were not going to be used, I don't know whether it's an accountancy thing, but he'll bring all of them neatly in folders and we would put them in boxes and we will then shred them, but he wouldn't.
Yeah, because strangely, after years, something will raise its head, and you'll have to go back in documents to find and to prove that whatever, if it's something that was spent or if it's a receipt that you would have gotten or whatever, that document is needed. And thank God if you have it, you have it in the folders. Yeah, but you can't store forever and ever and ever. At one point, you must throw away you must burn or throw away, shred some things, right? But I mean, at least 7 years. At least 7 years you have to keep it. You should keep it. Yeah, that's good practice.
Mm-hmm. And to add to that, sometimes right now, some of the banks, the system is set up that you can if you want to upload, instead of scanning it somewhere else, you can actually scan it onto your bank account So I know, like for example, with Starling Bank, after you do the transaction, you can put notes on there for your business. On the actual transaction, you can actually take a take up a photo of the receipt. So you always have your digital one. It's on your bank account. So you can
Correct.
just go there and get that. But you still have to keep your physical copy. You can't. You must follow the law when it comes to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Elana was asking about access. Yes, we will have access to the recording for it.
I'll give her the link when it comes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks
I
for
couldn't see.
attending, Alana.
My pleasure, Allison. I'm happy that I was able to. I just couldn't see where to raise my hand, so not sure
Oh,
what's happening with my Zoom. So
Oh,
I was posting in the chat.
down below, you see React. Down at the bottom of your screen, you see React. And you could raise
I
your hand
know.
there. Down
Sorry,
at
I
the
know that's
bottom.
where it usually is, but I'm not seeing it at all.
Oh, okay.
So
And that's it.
technology at its best. Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
right.
you.
okay. Oh, Jen has a really good question. Alison, I'll leave that one for you.
What is
Definitely.
this?
Can you
Can we
talk
talk
about
about
cash
cash
flow
flow forecasting?
forecasting?
All right.
How does
Time
the
in the deep end here.
forecasting?
Depending on your sales, right? You would know how much money well, of course, your books tell the story, right? So you know month on month what you're making, right? So based on what you're making, what's going into the bank, as opposed to what expenses that you would have. I'm not talking about buying your random anything that is flowery. I'm talking about your expenses that you must pay. You must pay a subscription. You must pay your light bill or your phone bill or whatever, right? So those are must, you must pay your taxes. So outside of that, you have to look and see what's remaining in your cash, right? Out of which what you could use. Out of that, what's remaining, what you could use without interfering too much with your profits. You see? Because, I mean, really, cash is king. Even though you're making a profit, that don't mean you have a lot of money in the bank. Because your profits is against your sales and what contributes to your sales. But if the money in your bank is not growing, something is wrong that needs a deeper look to see how we are spending and that kind of thing. But it's based on what's coming in. And based on what's coming in, month on month, you'll be able to tell how you should spend, you know? It's just like budgeting for home, right? It's just this one is business, right? And you always have to have, that's why you put aside a little bit of tax this month, you put aside so you wouldn't get so you will know exactly what you have at your disposal to spend. You see? And you can't spend everything. You should give a little percentage of what is coming in towards what you want to buy that is outside your normal spending patterns, your spending responsibilities, you know? Yeah, but you must look at your cash flow, right? Look over a couple months to see how cash is coming in, because you'll have some slower months, depending, like Christmas time and whatnot. It's not a big time for people to be spending on your business, going into business transactions and that kind of stuff. So your sales may be slow in a month like December, or probably when the children are preparing to go back to school. That time might be slow for business. So you have to look and see how your monies are coming in. See if you have to boost sales, if you want to get, certain things like your software going instead of this spreadsheet. You look to see how your cash is going. Sometimes you have to wait and not spend just yet. So you look to see, and then you could gauge, well, okay, I think I can buy this now. It's always reviewing what's coming in as opposed to what's going out, right? And you're making your judgment, you're making a decision based on those criteria. Cash flow is different for everybody, but it's a must for everybody. The volume of cash coming in and and the volume of cash going out will be different for everybody, but it's a must that everybody should
So,
look and
so it's
and
it's 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 going to be continually changing.
that's right.
Is that right?
Because some months you have high sales, some months you have low sales, some months you have big sales coming in, right? And your cash
From year to
must
year.
be able to sustain your salaries, things like salaries and wages and lights and telephones. Those things, those expenses are a must, and you must have the cash to pay those things that you run out of business. You must have your tax figures, ready
Yeah. So
for when it's tax time. So based on what's coming in, you kind of gauge to see what must go out and what you have remaining to determine whether you should buy again. You should spend
yeah.
again. Yeah, in
So
this
I'm thinking
particular
it must
period.
be yeah. So I'm thinking it must be flexible, responsive, and tickle
Yeah,
reasonable.
yeah. So it's up to your business how you see it going. You will know how to spend, if to spend, and how much to spend. In a particular
Yes.
period, month on month.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
And
Janice, you
that
should
is
be talking
really
about cash flow.
no,
You're the
I like
banker.
how you put it because that is so important. It is very, very important when it comes to cash flow. For me, well, every client I have had, they can tell you that I ask them, I want to see your cash flow. I want to see that because for me, that is most important, you know. When they tell me all sorts of things, yeah, I want to see that. So you can ask anybody that I've helped, and they will tell you I talk about their cash flow because it is so important, so
Even the
important.
bank, they want a loan, they want to see all of that. What's the cash flow
Exactly.
like to know if
And
you'll be
that's
able
what,
to pay them back, you know?
yes, and they're
Yeah,
more interested in that than the profit and loss account
that's right.
and all of these things
Because
because
really
the
and truly,
thing is
profit, sorry, and not, it's not money in the bank.
exactly
Yeah. Look,
that
Alan
that
is asking something, huh, in the chat.
okay. Let's see. Are there documented guidelines on what can be claimed as business expenses? Allison mentioned the possibility of excluding expenses and overpaying payment of tax. Is there a guide? HMRC may have a publication, I'm not sure, versus to change that context. Okay, well, with HMRC, yes, there's guidelines as to what we can claim, right? So on what can be claimed as a business expense. Yes, there's guidelines for that. Also, what can be claimed, what is taxable, what is not. What, there are other things and also the categories as well. Because even when you're doing things like when you're doing your accounting, when you're submitting it onto HMRC, you have to categorize it. Even if you're doing self-assessment, your personal one, because you have to do with HMRC, you do the business one, you do your personal one as well. When you do your self-assessment, you have to do it in categories. And so that is why, like for me, I just set up my categories in line with HMRC. So I know I just use the figures, use it. So I have it that way. But they give you exactly, there's a guideline as to what can be claimed for sure. And it's important to know that because some people end up, like for example, one perfect example is that as a business, if you're paying, for example, you want to give to charity, right? If you want to give to charity and you do it, you pay yourself and then you give to charity, you at the end of the financially, you have to pay it back. You're paying, right? When you use it as business, it goes on as an expense. So you benefit when you pay, for example, if you're a Christian, you're paying your tithes, you benefit paying it as the business rather than paying it as a sole trader. I'm not as a paying it when you're from a private because otherwise no, you will have those things. Um, yes, it's in aligned. It makes it much easier setting up everything aligned with HMRC. So it's good to know how the tax system is because especially as a business, you can benefit a lot as a business, but you need to know what to do. And
Thank you.
that's sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so but it's just understanding how the tax system works. And that is why you'll find that even in a business, if for example, somebody working for a company, and let's just say they're making 50,000 a year, and and you said you have a company with making the same 50,000 a year, the employee is paying more tax than the actual company. So you have to think about how that's why a lot of people think, especially the younger people now, they realize I better get into business, because if I don't get into business, and you hear the conversations now, if I don't get into business, all my money is just going to go into taxes. Right. So you have to, when you understand how it works with corporation tax, with all of these things, you see how you can actually benefit as a business when it comes to taxes. And the guidelines are there. Once you follow the guidelines, you can easily benefit from it. So it's actually better. When it comes to taxes, it's actually better to have a business than to be employed. Sadly, but
Yeah.
that's the truth. Yes. So I don't know how it is with Trinidad, if the guidelines as well. How is it done?
There are guidelines, but I have to accurate myself. I'm not making that much yet to pay taxes, you know.
Okay.
But there are guidelines.
Mm. And there, with just for anybody who might be interested, with HMRC, you can actually get back money for your intellectual property. Right? So you can actually so when it comes to your stuff, because that you're developing your frameworks, your whatever it is, that is part of research and development. So you're developing your frameworks over time. That is important when you're doing your taxes as well. So if you're developing a framework or whatnot, think about how you can benefit from that as well. So there are a lot of things. It's just understanding how it works with, just going through the guidelines, understanding it, and yeah. Oh dear, look at the time. But it's been such an interesting conversation. Wow,
Yeah.
Alison, we need to get you
Time
to come
talks.
back again to
What?
to do part two. Uh,
What?
but, but any other thoughts? Anybody else? Anything else? Okay, well, if nothing else, Alison, we want to say thank you so much.
My
So,
pleasure.
yeah, thank you. Really appreciate what you brought to the table, to the wrong table.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So much value in what you brought there. And I just pray that we all take everything on board, because it is needed for every business. And you all know how to reach out to Alison if you have any questions. Sign up. Her tips are really good. Sign up for them. Some of those tips you don't get them from even from your accountant. So because I see the emails as well, I get them as well. And yes, sign up, and yeah. Anything else? Okay. Any final words from you?
Me?
Oh, thank you, Alana. Thank you. Any final words from you, Alison, before we go?
Just to thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience. It was my pleasure to bring some of my knowledge to the table. Nice sharing. Don't know about part two, but but I encourage you to take the tips, because I have more to sign up for the tips, because I have more information that's coming through. Those tips each week, you get one every Tuesday, right? I encourage you to to sign up for them, and to get yourself more attuned to your numbers. You know what to look for, what not to look for, what to do, what not to do. You know. Thanks again to Janice for the opportunity to share.
Thank you. And wishing you all a great rest of the day and a great weekend ahead.
Thank you. Same to
Okay,
you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank
thanks.
you
Same to
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Thank
Take
everybody.
care.
you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
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 Thank